Okay, so today the maintenance item that I'm dealing with is kind of dumb. So of course I knew right away that a DC circuit breaker has tripped. Unfortunately, the circuit breakers are just out of reach. I gotta take this bench out completely in order to access them. And while I put this couch back together, you'll get a little mini tour of how we store things. So Michelle has taken all the kids to a play date with some of their friends. I think maybe they're going to a splash pad, and they're going to be gone for a few hours, which really gives me the chance I need to do a certain repair. Unfortunately, I have another situation where I have to remove the whole new seating cabinet storage system that I built in the front of the Airstream. And now that we put all our stuff in it, and since it's also storage, we have a lot of stuff in it, so I've had to move everything. So I need to find a chance when Michelle is gone, all the kids are out doing something happily for a few hours, to give me a chance to pull that all out and get the tools out and fix it. Okay, so today the maintenance item that I'm dealing with is kind of dumb. A few weeks ago I had the problem where the inverter reset switch was underneath this bench here. What I did is I cut this access hole down there, and that allowed me to go down and reset the inverter. The GFCI little reset switch had to be pushed, and so now I have a way to push that button without disassembling the entire couch. However, this week we have a new problem. Here I noticed that the range hood fan and also the light no longer work over the stove, and also the light over the kitchen sink, and even the ceiling fan in the bathroom doesn't work right now. So of course I knew right away that a DC circuit breaker has tripped. And then I remembered another design flaw in my redesign of all the solar power, battery, electronic stuff here under the front sofa. When I built this sofa, I meant it to house all of the electronics behind it. And unfortunately, the circuit breakers are just out of reach. There is a little bit of a notch for the wires to go in towards the circuit breakers, but unfortunately there just is not enough room to be able to reset them without removing this whole bench. I got to take this bench out completely in order to access them, but so that this does not happen again, I want to cut a bigger notch so that I can access those circuit breakers without having to remove it again. Here you can see this notch I have. This is where all the wires go in for the solar, and also the circuits come out. I can see the circuit breaker, and I can't get this camera in there, but I actually got a flashlight in there and I was able to see that it was the fourth circuit that tripped. There's no way to reach in there and reset it, just not the right amount of space. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this notch to be just to give me some more clearance, and then I'll be able to access all of those breakers without having to remove this next time. Okay, first thing I want to do before I fix the design to give me better access is I want to actually fix that circuit and make sure that I can get that working again and there isn't a short somewhere. Here you can see the circuit breakers that I really wanted to have access to. So there's my panel, and I think you can see the fourth circuit right here. This is a type 3 circuit breaker, which means it does not auto reset either immediately or with any kind of a delay. You have to get in there and push it, which I like better because I don't want to have it tripping over and over. If there really is a short, I want it to fail safely. So unfortunately it means I need to get in here and push the button. So this is kind of could be a problem of my own causing. If I'd used a type 2 and it was just a momentary issue, this would have automatically reset after it cooled back down without me having to come in and press it. However, I don't know. There's just something about if there's an electrical issue, I don't want it to continue. I want it to fail safely and let me come and investigate. Okay, so I'm gonna engage this. I'm gonna push this button here and get the circuit breaker closed again. And let's see. And look at that. Okay. And sure enough, we've got our range fan and light to the high speed here. Kind of an inconvenient circuit to lose. Not only is it the fan for the range hood, but it's the ceiling fan for the bathroom, which we definitely depend on to control humidity. I think you can see behind me the bathroom mirror is completely fogged up. Fortunately, there's a A little bit of a gross situation. The fan hasn't been spinning for a couple of weeks now. So somehow a bunch of flies got in there. I don't know if they had a big family or what, but there's a bunch of dead flies in the fan. I'm hoping I can just turn it on fast and they'll shoot out the top. You might want to close your eyes if that bugs you. Okay, let's do full speed ahead here. Well, that's a relief. Okay, definitely a huge relief that this circuit is working and we get our fan back. I've been missing that bathroom fan a lot. Okay, new problem. While I'm fixing one problem, I see a new problem, and this one's worse. So air conditioners do create condensation, and we're used to that dripping on the outside. But one thing we're not supposed to see is it dripping on the inside of the RV. So I'm gonna go ahead and shut off that front AC right away. Actually, before I do that, let's pull this off and see what's going on up there. Okay, now let's turn it off. Okay, so that right there, I believe, is the condensation tube. These things are how it's supposed to drain to the outside, and when I had the flashlight up there, it did look like it's clogged, so I don't know if it's just dirt or bugs, but maybe I can get up there and fix it at some point. But man, the list is long. That is one thing about RV life, is that especially with an RV that is maybe not brand new, I don't know, maybe even brand new ones require maintenance all the time, but at least in one that's 12 years old and has a lot of customizations, and a lot of the customizations I've done myself, does tend to be some amount of maintenance that needs to be done pretty much every week, something. Basic rule of thumb of RV living is, whoops. A pretty basic rule of thumb for RV living is water inside the RV is bad. Fortunately, this is a situation where it's pretty easy to notice. It's not like I wouldn't notice water dripping right in the middle of the living room, but sometimes it leaks in spots where I don't find it for a while. Such as here, I found some evidence that there was a little bit of water coming in through the window here. Looks like there might be a leak somewhere around here, and there was some, I wiped it up already, but there was a few drops of water dripping down here, down this aluminum, and making its way all the way behind my seating cabinet, and I can see there's some water damage. There's some evidence of water damage here on this electronics board, and luckily it doesn't look like it's gotten too far back there, and it doesn't seem to have affected, any of these electrical components, but still not what I wanted to see. In addition to trying to, isolate and fix this leak, in the meantime, I think when I put the seating back, I'm going to just put some kind of absorbent stuff above it, so that if any water drips down the back wall, it would hopefully get stopped and absorbed before it gets into this cabinet at all. So multi-pronged approach there, but never a dull moment in RV life. I've got these 6 toolboxes that fit down in here pretty nicely. I try to keep them sort of project based so that I could hopefully only pull out the ones that I really need for a specific project. I got lucky, I didn't need to do any electrical work. I'm gonna need the woodworking stuff to open up that notch, give me a bigger space. First thing I need to do is measure this situation. So I have come to realize that I don't need nearly as much of this to be solid wood as I thought. So when I first designed this cabinet, I just made the whole thing solid plywood, basically, and there were no openings. The first opening I needed was this little one here, and that was so that the wires could basically come in and out of the cabinet into the electronics board. And then after we painted the whole thing, I realized it was very heavy and I was adding a lot of weight to the front of the Airstream by putting this in. I took this main bench and even the side components and basically cut a bunch of holes that I thought would save weight, anywhere that I thought the structure wasn't needed and I didn't need it to be enclosed. That's when I added these holes in the side. This is where our toy bins go, so I thought, well, there's no reason to have those be isolated from the side cabinets. And then a few weeks ago when I needed access to the inverter reset switch, that's when I cut this hole here. That gives me access to the inverter so I can reset the GFCI switch. So basically I end up just cutting more and more holes in this thing. And now today I need to widen this opening so that I can have access to reset those circuit breakers. So basically I'm just slowly turning this whole thing into Swiss cheese. So I basically want to have enough room so that I can get my chubby fingers in there and reset that breaker if I need to. It's about 6.5 to 10 inches would be about that space that I would want to access. So around there, and it went about 6 inches deep. So I got the circuit breaker working again, and the fan and everything is working, and besides just fixing it, I want to understand why it tripped in the first place. I doubt that it was a short or a persistent overload of current. One thought I have is that the way these little circuit breakers work, they actually are heat-based. There's a little bit of material in there that when it gets hot enough, it will trip the circuit open. If underneath the cabinet at 20 degrees higher than it needs to be, that might help it boost a little bit earlier than it really should be tripping. So in order to rule it out, I want to improve the ventilation of this whole cabinet. And it's pretty cool how I can just check this app here. Even though we tend to keep the inside of the Airstream around 80, I've noticed that the cabinet has been up in the high 90s. So I am concerned a little bit about the heat in there, and I realized, well, there's not a lot of ventilation in here. Really, there's just that one hole at first, and then I opened up this one, and that's still not a lot of ventilation. So in keeping with the Swiss cheese approach here, I think I'm also gonna basically just open up a big opening on both sides with all the rest of the space that isn't needed for structure, and that will help improve the airflow around all of the electronics, just keep them a little bit cooler. So I do really like these toolboxes for organizing tools on the road. They stack nicely, and I'm able to fit 6 of them in the van pretty well, but I haven't quite figured out the organization system that works perfectly yet. My goal was to be able to open as few of them as possible for any given project, but so far, it seems like I have to open quite a few. For this project, I have to open 4. So naturally, I need my jigsaw, and that's in the woodworking and saws bucket. But it turns out in order to cut panels out of the wood, I'm going to need to drill with the hole saw. So the hole saws are here, but that requires the driver, the drill, and then I usually need a screwdriver or something, or a tape measure. In this case, I needed a tape measure to make some markings. But then I had my woodworking pencils over there in the hardware safety miscellaneous, so I'll just put those here and they'll be there then. That way they'll be with the saws next time. If I want to put on my dust mask or goggles or anything like that, I've got that in a separate bin. So depending on how I do this, that's 4 different toolboxes I had to open for this job. I probably could have gotten done, I don't know, maybe I could. I'm pretty much always going to need the everyday one, and very often need the drill impact driver. And I guess since I'm cutting, I guess I could put the cutting safety stuff in there. That makes more sense. That way I don't have to open the miscellaneous. Unless there's some weird item, unusual item that I need, maybe I won't need to open that miscellaneous one. Probably the wood screws. No, those aren't necessarily for cutting. That might be more like the everyday. circuit breakers are reset, and now I've modified this cabinet so that I shouldn't have to remove it again if I need to reset them again. Let's get this back in place. And this hutch is still not attached yet. It's just kind of floating on top of the cabinets there. I haven't quite decided how I want to attach it. Not a big fan of things bouncing around on travel days. So it's nicer if things are more secure, but it doesn't have a lot of mass to it, so hasn't really seemed to move very much, but nevertheless, it's like 100 degrees out today and super humid. I'm pretty tired, but I have to just keep going and get everything put back together because these kinds of operations, they really only are possible when the kids are all gone. Time for some cushions. Now I can put back what's in the cabinets, got some water, and all of these toys. All these nicely labeled toys and crafts and projects and education stuff. And these go on the right. I actually designed this entire storage cabinet around these little cubby things. I made it so that I could fit exactly 3 tall and 5 wide, so we could fit 15 of these in here. And then we tend to keep some extra water. Does the job. Then finally, up in this hutch we have some storage too. I had the idea that it would be like 1 per kid, but we're not really at that stage yet. Right now we're using it for some kind of lightweight stuff. Like that one, I just stuff in all the magnetic curtains that we made. And then I think Michelle has some exercise stuff that I need to put here. Easy access to jump ropes, things like that. And then this one is kind of turned into some laundry supplies, other household supplies, and most importantly, gotta get the decorations back the way she had them. Pretty sure this did not go there, but maybe I'll get points for trying, right? Oh look, it looks like she just pulled up with the kids. I finished just in time. Wow, that was perfect timing. What do you think?
It looks gorgeous in here. It's so nice to have everything like cleared out.
What do you think? That doesn't go there, does it?
It does.
It does?
Yeah, why not?
I tried to put it back exactly where you had it, but I couldn't remember.
Oh, well, it moves. I never, it's not like it has its spot that it can never move from. I didn't even notice.
I just wanted it to be nice and perfect for you.
Well, it looks beautiful. I wouldn't even know that you had taken it all apart.
So I'll give you a quick update on this stickwood here that we have on this wall. I guess we call it a TV wall. So when we redid the aluminum on the side of the Airstream, we decided to redo this TV wall too. Basically it was like a wood sticker type of thing. It actually looked pretty good. We liked the way it looked. It did peel off pretty frequently, so we decided to try something different this time. We were recommended a product that was called stickwood. Basically what it is, it's reclaimed wood from old barns across America, and they scrape off like 1/8 of an inch of it and put it onto a pressed product that you can then stick on. It comes in these planks of different widths and thicknesses, and we got one that we loved, and I just loved the way it looked. And basically we did this whole wall. It's got an adhesive on the back, so it was pretty easy to install. You just stick it on, and then when you get to the edge, you get your jigsaw and you cut it to the right shape. We have this curve on the side, so that's what we did. I really like the way it turned out. It gave the Airstream a fresh new look, and it was fun to change things around a bit. However, we have had a bit of a problem with it warping out. And a certain amount of that is to be expected. What I've been doing is just kind of pushing it back in over time as it warps out a little bit on the edges. I'll just kind of push it back and it sticks again. It is more pricey than just the sticker type stuff that was up there before. So I was hoping we'd get a year or two out of it, but it may turn out to be like a 6-month type of thing. We'll keep an eye on it. It comes in boxes of 20 square feet, and I measured this out just perfectly, and it looked like we would have just enough. Because of the way this curves, we would have a little bit of scrap, and I thought maybe we'll have just enough to do this. And it turns out we did have just enough to do that little corner up there. You may have also noticed that we don't have that electric fireplace up there anymore, and we did like how it gave it sort of a cozy feel when you turn that on. Of course, it's not a real fireplace, and it's not the best way to heat the Airstream. The propane furnace that's built in works a lot better for that. So the summer was coming up, so we decided to give it a shot and see what it was like traveling around without it.